milk toast. Now with your left hand, reach out and grab your nose. Say yeah, do a high five with your friend. Up high, down low, too slow, let's go.
Hey y'all, today we're making the key lime cookies. I was going to use the intro from last week but decided just to do a different one so you don't have to live through that again. But these cookies are a shortbread cookie that has a key lime glaze on top. Inside the cookie there is key lime zest, and it's garnished with key lime zest. So this time I used key lime juice that I purchased from the store, which made a huge difference when I was making them. But like, share, subscribe. I hope you enjoy the video. Excuse me, I'm a hot mess today. I went out to work out for the first time since I've had my shoulder surgery. So enjoy the video and let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are making the key lime cookies. These are a very easy, quick cookie to put together. All you do is cream your butter, your sugar, add your dry ingredients, and you're ready to go. Last week I had made a key lime bundt cake, so I zested some extra key lime, so I already had that ready. I'm also using a bottled key lime juice instead of juicing those key limes that took forever, and it really made a big difference as far as quickness in making this recipe. So I creamed 2 sticks of unsalted room temperature butter. Here I've added my key lime sugar. What I did is I took 2 tablespoons of the key lime zest and I added it to 3/4 cups of granulated sugar. So this zest lasted in my refrigerator for about a week. Had I waited any longer, it probably wouldn't have been any good. So I wouldn't, if it's in there longer than a week, I would just zest some more. But what I'm doing is I am rubbing it between my fingers and combining it all. What this does is it releases the oils and really enhances the flavor. You can smell the scent of key limes coming through when you're doing this. You want to make sure that you get all those big lumps out, because if you don't, you're going to end up with big lumps of zest in your cookie. So what I'm doing is I'm just rubbing and sifting and making sure I get all of those lumps broken up and get it all combined in the sugar. And then I'm going to take my whisk. Here I'm trying to show you what the lumps look like, but you can pretty much see them in the bowl. But I'm going to take my whisk when I'm done doing this and just kind of whisk it around to make sure all the lumps are broken up. And then once this is done, you add it to your butter and then you're going to cream it for about 2 minutes. I think if you don't do this process, you're not going to get any lime flavor in the cookie. These cookies have more of a shortbread type texture and flavor, and they have a hint of lime when you do this process. I don't think you get any hint of lime if you didn't do this process. So whenever you're adding zest to a dough or whatever, do this process where you mix it with the sugar and rub it with your fingers to release those oils, because it really helps with the flavor. So after I mix this for a couple minutes and get it nice and fluffy, I'm going to add an egg, and it's a room temperature egg, and combine it. You want to make sure that you scrape down the bowl, because you don't want all that butter stuck on the side and not get combined with everything. And remember, you always want to use room temperature ingredients, because you don't want to increase this batter to a cold temperature and then try to cook it. It's going to take longer to cook and might not cook it evenly. So I always make sure all my ingredients are room temperature. So we'll get this all mixed up, and then I'm going to add my dry ingredient chute and add the dry ingredients that I prepared before we did this. So the dry ingredients, it's 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. It's 286 grams if you're going to weigh it out. I always weigh my flour out just because the way flour gets milled, a cup of one bag of flour might be a little bit off from another cup of another bag of flour. So I always weigh my ingredients. It tends to work out better that way. And then it's half a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of fine sea salt, and then you just whisk that together. Whenever you have a recipe that calls for salt, don't substitute fine sea salt unless it tells you to use fine sea salt, because a teaspoon of fine sea salt is going to be a lot stronger than a teaspoon of regular salt because it's finer, so more salt fits in a teaspoon. So I've made that mistake before, and I did it in cheesecake, and my cheesecake came out, it tasted like a salt lick. So unless it calls for fine sea salt or coarse kosher salt, um, don't substitute with those because you'll end up with a salty mess. So I'm scraping down the bowl. Making sure it's all combined, and then I'm going to add the dry ingredients. As far as the batter, it tastes great. Yes, I eat cake batter. I eat cookie batter. I'm 63 years old. I have not died yet. My kids never died when I gave it to them. I grew up on it. The reason why I like to taste the batter prior to baking is to make sure it's not off. Did I miss something? Did I put too much salt? Because I would hate to sell something and it be way salty or too sweet, not enough salt because I forgot to add salt. Um, I've had it where it got too salty by using salted butter. I've had it where I've added the salt with the unsalted butter and then it was way too sweet. So I do like to taste the batter before I start baking it. Plus, I like batter, so it's just me. Anyways, um, we're going to mix this until it's just combined. I'm adding it about a half a cup at a time so that it all combines well. Usually with a KitchenAid, you can dump it all in and it mixes really well. If you're using a hand mixer, you want to do it a cup at a time. But I usually just throw it down the chute and do it a cup at a time and then scrape it down to make sure everything got combined. And that's it for the ingredients because we're getting ready to scoop these out. So it's, again, 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, or 286 grams, a half teaspoon of baking powder, a half teaspoon of fine sea salt, 2 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of lime zest. I use key lime zest, and 1 large egg at room temperature. So I'm going to take my cookie sheet. This recipe made 24 cookies for me. So I took my medium cookie scoop. I have a large, I got them from Paper Chef. I have a large, I have a very small one, and I have a medium one. I use the medium one. It was about, I don't know, a tablespoon and a half. But I scoop them out and then you roll them into a ball and then you're just going to kind of smush them down a little bit to flatten them out. And this doesn't stick to your hands. They roll really easy. If you don't like shortbread, like my husband does not like shortbread, so he wasn't a big fan of these cookies. He immediately said, "Oh, these are shortbread," because they do taste like shortbread, have that texture. I love shortbread, so I loved them. But you can use any kind of butter cookie. If you have a cookie recipe that you use at Christmas, a sugar cookie recipe, you could add the lime zest and add the lime glaze to it. But this is a very, very good cookie, so I liked it. So I'm just kind of mushing them down, roll them in a ball, mush them down. So they're a little flat. You don't want to flat them totally flat, but just a little bit. And then I preheated my oven to 350. And then I put these in. It took about, I started it at like 10 minutes and then I ended up going about 15 minutes. But you can see they're nice and slightly brown on the edge, done on the bottom, and then I put them on a wire rack and just let them cool completely. And then while they're cooling, I'm going to make my key lime glaze. And that is just a cup and a half of powdered sugar. And I use 4 tablespoons of the key lime juice. So this is the key lime juice that I got. I got it off of Amazon. You can buy it in the store. I know Publix has it. A lot easier to use than trying to juice those tiny little key limes. But I just whisk that together, and you want it a pourable consistency. What I do is I just dip the cookies in. You can take a spoon and pour it over. It's just a lot easier just to pick the cookie up, dip it in, pull it out. Sometimes I drop a cookie in so there's glaze on both sides, but it is what it is. And then once I get these glazed, so these are completely cooled cookies. If they have any warmth to them at all, this glaze is just going to melt right off. So you wanted to use completely cooled cookies. And this process pretty quick. You can see I dip it in, shake off the excess, and put them on the parchment paper. And then once I get done with this, I'm going to zest some fresh key lime zest on top of them. And it makes them look pretty and adds extra flavor. If you've ever been to Charleston and you ever got those cookies that are like they have the lime or the lemon, they're called lemon coolers, I think, and they have the powdered sugar on top and they're very tart. That's what these remind me of. They don't have the powdered sugar on them, but the um, glaze is very tart and gives you a nice punch of key lime flavor. When my daughter tasted these, she said, "Oh, at first I was like, oh, these are too tart," but then the shortbread kicks in and it really evens out the flavor, and she really liked them. So you can see these are very, very, very simple to make and very good. You can make these with lemon. Just use lemon juice and lemon zest. But since we're on a key lime kick these past couple weeks, we did key lime. If key limes were a little bigger, it would be a lot quicker to zest this on top. You don't have to put the zest on top if you don't want. You could just leave them plain like this. I think they look prettier with the zest on it. And we're going to show you a picture here of the completed cookies on a plate ready to eat. And there they are, key lime cookies. Very simple, very quick. If you need to make cookies in a hurry, this could be your go-to recipe. So thank you for watching. Again, like, share, subscribe. Tell me in the comments if you made these, what you thought, and we will catch you on the next one.